Okay, and now it's time to take a look at the estate analysis. As you'll recall, we just gathered all the information, all the pertinent information. Now we're going to put it in analysis form so our professionals can work with it. This is our typical cover that we put on when we do go present an analysis. Okay. Now what we want to do, the first thing I always do is look at the financial statement, and there's a lot of things that we'll learn from this financial statement, and as you can see here, it's unaudited. So the first thing we look at is what sorts of categories we have. So in this estate, in Mr. and Mrs. Doe, we've got cash and cash equivalents. You can see we've got checking, savings, some CDs here. And then I always put life insurance cash value clients to take a look in picture form at their estate, and you can see that here's a financial statement, here's where all the assets are, but sometimes there's something about taking a look at a picture here that can have a big impact. And just take a look at the real property percentage in this estate. Now a couple things I like about this, in most ranch and farm, especially most ranch situations, this cash and cash equivalents category here is sometimes just a tiny sliver. Sometimes you can't even see it. So these folks have quite a bit more cash and cash equivalents than a lot of places do. They have a lot, some more investments than a lot of places do, and less personal property. In relation to the size of their place, they really don't have a lot of cattle or equipment producing income in relation to the size of their place. So this has always just been an interesting way for folks to look at their estate. That are those observations and objectives, and this is the foundation for the family. And here's what we found about your estate. These are the objectives you gave us, and the things that you told us that are important, so we can take your estate then, and based on your objectives, go out and get you what you want. So number one, there's an old will that we did not observe. It's a very old will, and like the husband said, well, it doesn't matter because we're going to change. He had started doing some estate planning with another so-called specialist estate planning attorney, come to find out that this so-called specialist estate planning attorney had made the family a testamentary trust instead of a revocable trust like they wanted. And of course he didn't have a good feeling about what was going on there, so he never executed any of those documents. So from that then, we go out and just do a couple things. The first thing we want to take a look at, because as we recall, they didn't want the government to get any of their estate, so we have to kind of cast the line out into the future. With 60-year-old people, we're looking at longevity here as being a good thing and a bad thing when it comes to estate growth. So what we did here was took their estate and just made it grow by 6%. Well, this is not going to be an accurate number for growth. We know that for certain, and in reality it's probably a very low number, because as you have probably noticed, real estate, and especially rural real estate, has just exploded in value over the last few years. We can see every year the inflation factor in rural real estate going up by 15%, 17%, 20% on a year after year basis. Who knows where that's going to stop? The big problem for you is that growth is coming into your estate, but it's not going to raise one more calf or one more ear of corn. So what we need to do then is take a look and see how we can minimize the impact of the growth. But just take a look here. We can protect, by doing a good estate plan, we can protect $7 million in assets. So if we do an estate plan right now, we're okay, but let's see where we get to $7 million in only 3 years if we don't do anything other than that. Let's take a look when these folks are 70. The estate now is up to $11 million. At 75, it's up to 14, almost $15 million. At 80, it's up to 19 million. At 85, it's up to 26 million. And both of these folks here, with their health histories and where they are, both of them have a very strong probability of being alive when they're 85. And just take a look at the size of that estate there. Now, who knows if it's going to get there, but who in the world would have thought years ago that the values of land would be where they are today? So let's just take a look then at what we can accomplish here. And one of the things that we'd like to do to get that growth out of their estate is start with a good solid entity program. And so the first thing we want to do is make this revocable living trust. And that trust is going to own Mr. Doe's share of the Colorado Ranch Limited Partnership units. And of course that ranch owns the real property, or the family limited partnership. On the other side then, we're going to deed the Wyoming real property, the ranch property, personal. All this stuff is going to be owned and titled in the name of their revocable trust. And this is just to get us started. You can see outside of their estate here, John and Jane Doe themselves are going to own the life insurance and the IRAs. And for sure we want them to own the IRAs, and we want those IRAs to go out to the kids. But we still have to do some calculations there, because if we can get those boys to do stretch our IRAs, we can really increase the amount of work that those IRAs will do for this family. As far as the life insurance goes, probably what we're going to do is have that life insurance owned by them, at least now, and make the trust the beneficiary. But more importantly, I think we want to try to get that life insurance out of their estate and make it an irrevocable life insurance trust. I just think that makes the most sense, and then they won't have to give half of the death benefit away someday because their estate grew. Another issue we need to take a look at is their long-term care insurance. You can see it was important, but they have no long-term care plan. So in reality, the current plan is to pay for long-term care costs out of their existing assets. So here are our suggestions and our general recommendations. And the first thing, when we took a look at what was important to them, and especially the privacy part, the immediate control part, those things would all indicate that a revocable living trust would help them accomplish their objectives better than their will. And of course that's going to be up to the attorney to help them determine that. Just from our perspective though, and what was important to them, I think it's sure worth considering. And of course everybody should have good durable powers of attorney for healthcare and asset management. If you're 18 years old, you should have one of those.